Hey there. Hey, I'm Brian Manning from Political Asylum Lawyers. Hello on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Hey, I'm Brian Manning of Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of my law firm, which is based in Houston, but we help people all over the country. We help immigrants from everywhere to secure their future in the United States through asylum. I'm going to take a few of your questions. I'm going to answer your asylum questions. But first, I want to say a couple words about a recent announcement by USCIS that's really important, affecting a lot of asylum seekers. Now, what is this about? Well, it concerns people who had an asylum case pending with immigration court. So they were in what are called deportation proceedings. They were in immigration court where the government was trying to deport them and they'd applied for asylum, but then they have their case dismissed. What does that mean? Well, sometimes the prosecutors for ICE say, you know what, this person really isn't a priority for us to want to deport. They're not a criminal. They don't have bad things on their record. Therefore, they're not really worth our time and effort to pursue trying to deport them. And so we'll say, you know what, judge, you can just go ahead and close this case out completely. Just terminate it, get rid of it, throw it away. That's called dismissing a case. And so sometimes the people who are in immigration court want to do that. They say, that sounds good because I don't want to risk getting a deportation order from the judge. Therefore, I'm going to ask if the judge will dismiss my case. But sometimes they don't want to do that. Sometimes they say, no, I want to have my case heard in immigration court and fight my asylum case to the end. Because what happens is if your case gets dismissed from immigration court, you can't have your asylum claim considered by the judge, okay? Your asylum claim kind of disappears when your case is dismissed. Now, here's the thing. For a long time, since this started happening somewhat frequently, maybe a year or so ago, we've known that there might be the possibility for some of these people whose case is dismissed from immigration court, but who want to go on and keep pursuing asylum, for them to be able to apply with USCIS. Remember, USCIS, which stands for U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, is the immigration agency where you can submit an application to if you're not in deportation proceedings. So if your case gets dismissed from immigration court, you're no longer in deportation proceedings, can apply in theory with USCIS. But there's been a lot of uncertainty about the mechanics of this, of how exactly this would work. And there was a lot of uncertainty, especially around a really important point. Lost me on Facebook here. Let me change my camera view. Facebook, sorry, and LinkedIn. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think I'm coming back. There I am. Let me just fix that angle. There was uncertainty about this really important point concerning the 1-year filing deadline, right? Because you got to apply for asylum during your first year in the United States. And if you don't, your asylum application is going to get denied unless you qualify for a certain exception. So there was a question about people who had their case in immigration court, and maybe they applied for asylum, right when they got here, and then their case is pending for maybe years in immigration court, and then their case gets dismissed, and then they go to send their application to USCIS. Well, what date is USCIS going to use for purposes of the 1-year filing deadline, for the date on which they say you are filing your application? Is it the new date, the time that the person's filing now, which may be 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years after they came into the United States? Therefore, their application will be untimely and it'll get denied probably because of that. Or are they going to use the original date from which you filed for asylum back a long time ago? Well, thankfully, just last week, USCIS clarified this and said, okay, we're going to use the old date. We're going to use the original date that you applied for asylum for purposes of the 1-year filing deadline. So that's good news for asylum seekers, okay? It's good news. For once, we don't have the opportunity too often to deliver good news for asylum seekers, but this is one of those opportunities. So welcome news from USCIS. One bit of bad news, though, with this is that they said that people that had applied originally with USCIS and then had an interview and they didn't get a positive decision, so their case was referred to the immigration court. If those cases get dismissed and the person says, no, but I still want to seek asylum, then what can they do? Well, if they send their asylum, if they apply again with USCIS just said last week, actually for those cases, we're not going to do interviews for those. We're going to accept it, but then we're going to transfer that file onto immigration court so that the person will be again in immigration court proceedings. So if you are in immigration court proceedings, right? And you already had your turn at USCIS and you didn't get a positive decision such that you were placed in deportation proceedings. Based on this news, if you want to keep pursuing your asylum claim, then you don't want to get your case dismissed. You will want to try to keep fighting it if you want to have your case heard, because if you get it dismissed, your only option to still get asylum will be to go back and apply again with USCIS, but they're just going to put you back in immigration court proceedings. And that may take many years for it to be your turn again, to have your hearings and be able to fight your case. So keep that in mind. All right. Those are some updates. And I'm going to link down below to a full video that I did on this on YouTube, a full tutorial where I explain in a lot more detail how this stuff works and what exactly you need to know based on your particular circumstances, because there's kind of like 4 different categories of people, four different circumstances you could find yourself in. You need to know which one you fit into so that you'll know how to apply, where to send your application, that sort of thing. So let's take it over to the comments and questions. On YouTube, Mike says, "Hey, Brian, nice to see you again." Thank you. Good to see you too. Samuel says, "I've got a question. Please, I have a question." Hit me, Samuel. What is your question? On TikTok, we've got, can you adjust your status through getting married to a U.S. citizen if you cross the border illegally? Yes, you can. Yep. It will forgive the fact that you came without permission if your marriage is to a U.S. citizen. All right. So here's Samuel's question. No, sorry, Mike's question. Mike says on YouTube, "My brother is waiting for his asylum EAD renewal for almost a year. He has the receipt for the extension, but he hasn't received his EAD yet. Should he apply for a new 5-year EAD?" Mike is raising an important point that USCIS recently announced that they're going to start issuing an EAD, which is employment authorization document, which means work permit, in 5-year increments. So in the past, for people who are seeking asylum, while their case is pending, they apply for this work permit and it's issued for just valid for 2 years. But USCIS a few weeks ago said, okay, we're going to change that. It's going to be valid for 5 years. So Mike is saying, hey, my brother applied and he's waiting for the renewal. Should he go ahead and apply again to send it in to try to get this 5-year approval? No. USCIS has said that they're going to issue for 5 years for the applications that are currently pending, including your brother's. So when they issue it, they're going to issue it they're going to say, okay, this is good for 5 years. So that's good news for your brother. It's annoying that it's taking them so long to do these renewals, to adjudicate them and make a decision. But the good news is they're going to do it for 5 years once they get to it. And no, it would not be helpful for him to apply again. Okay. But thanks for asking the question, Mike. Appreciate it. Oh, all right. We've got Badru, who says, on YouTube says, "Hi, Mr. Brian. Thanks again for helping me winning my case after suing USCIS. You're the best." You're the best, Badru. You're the best. Thank you for the kind words. Thanks for mentioning it. Yeah, we helped Badru with 2 different things. We helped him sue the government so that he could get his asylum case get his interview, because he was waiting for years and it was not going to go anywhere, almost certainly, unless he sued the government. So he did, and it worked. They said, okay, we don't want to fight this case all the way in court. Here's your interview, Badru. And then we helped him win his case. We did a lot to lay the groundwork and then to help him prepare and to represent him during his interview. There's 3 steps that we take with people. This is an important point for those of you who might be thinking, yeah, you know what? I would like to get help with my asylum case, but I already applied. So there's nothing I can really do now. That's not true. There's a lot that we can still do to help you increase your chances for asylum success. Okay. There's 3 steps that we take with people who have already applied, but then they come to us for help with their asylum case. First, we're going to do what's called a supplemental filing, where we're going to submit a package to the asylum office that's basically a roadmap, or to the immigration court if you're in immigration court proceedings. It's a roadmap that shows the judge how to get to the answer yes in your case in the easiest way possible. I'm not going to go into all the details of what's in it, but basically it's laying the groundwork, right? When you walk into your asylum interview or to your immigration court hearing, we want the officer or the judge to be thinking, oh, you know what? Based on the documents in this case, I already see how they meet all the requirements for asylum. And I plan to give it to them as long as they say things today that line up with what's in the documents. Okay. That's the mindset that we're trying to create in the judge or the asylum officer with this supplemental filing. Okay. And then the second thing is preparation. Before the interview or the court hearing, we're going to do multiple rounds of preparation. We're going to do a mock interview where you'll experience everything that you'll experience on the day of the real interview, so that you go into it knowing what kind of questions to expect, knowing what it feels like to be in this position, what the different procedures are for the day. All of this stuff is going to help you to feel comfortable and to know, feel like you know what you're getting into and to do a better job. Okay. And then finally, we represented Badr during the interview to make sure his rights were protected and to help make sure that he was explaining his case and telling his story in an impactful way. Okay. So, and then sometimes, we've got to make legal arguments about things that come up during the interview or during the hearing to show why, our understanding and interpretation of the law and our application of the facts to the law in this case is correct. All right. Thank you, Badr, for taking the time to comment. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure supporting you. Okay. Good question. Mohammed on YouTube says, hello, what if someone did get an NTA at the border, but after several months, he's still not in the court system? He checked with the local ICE office. Does that mean dismissal? Does that mean the case has been dismissed? So Mohammed, thank you for the question. He's talking about a case where someone came to the border and the border people like Customs and Border Protection, or probably ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, eventually created this document called a Notice to Appear, NTA. This is the document that once it gets filed with the immigration court, it starts deportation proceedings against someone. Okay. It's the document that once it's filed with court, puts you in deportation proceedings, and then your data will show up in the court system. But what Mohammed's saying is like, look, this person got the NTA, they got the Notice to Appear, but they're not showing up in the court system. Does that mean the case was dismissed? No, it just means it hasn't been filed. That Notice to Appear just simply has not been sent over to the court yet. Okay. And it doesn't mean anything like good or bad. It doesn't mean that he's more likely to win an asylum case or not, or anything like that. It's just that ICE is overwhelmed and they just haven't gotten around to sending this document, this packet over to the court yet. What does it mean for you though, or your friend? What is the implication right now? Well, the most important thing to know is that if your friend wants to apply, this person wants to apply for asylum, they can't do it with the immigration court. If they send their asylum application to the immigration court, it's going to get rejected. The court will say, there's no case for you here. You can't file with us. Instead, you have to apply with USCIS. What USCIS is going to do is accept it and send you a letter that says, hey, we've accepted your filing and it's pending as of X date. Also, we have transferred your case to the immigration court along with the Notice to Appear. And that is going to start the immigration court proceedings against you. So after that, shortly after you get that letter from USCIS, the data should appear in the court system because the case has been initiated. So then you're going to have the process in immigration court, like normal, right? Where you're going to have probably 2 hearings, master calendar hearing and individual hearing to fight your case. But when you're ready to apply for asylum, like when you've got the application form ready, at that moment, go check and see whether you're in the court system. You can check online. I probably do both. Check online, EOIR. You can Google EOIR case status and put in your A number, or you can call the hotline, the automated number, and use your A number to check. And if it says no case found for this A number, then you got to send your application to USCIS. And you have to apply on paper, unfortunately. You can't do it online in this circumstance where a Notice to Appear has been issued, been created, but not yet filed with the court. You can't apply online. You got to send it by mail to a certain address that's on the USCIS website for these kinds of cases. Okay. So that's how that works. Thank you for asking the question, Mohammed. Let's see. All right. On Facebook, Gatan says, hi, lawyer. This program is always very helpful for many. Thank you. I have reached 150 days since I successfully submitted asylum through the court. I have received a receipt number from USCIS and also did the biometrics and fingerprints. Am I able to request work permit and social security number already? Thanks. Yes. Good news. You are. At 150 days after the date that's listed, like on after the date on which the court accepted your asylum application, 150 days after that, yes, you can apply. USCIS can't issue the work permit until you reach 180 days after having applied, but they usually do it pretty quickly thereafter. So if you go ahead and send your application, your work permit application in tomorrow, you'll probably get the approval and the actual work card in the mail within 1 to 2 months of sending it in. Okay. So yes, you can. Good news. All right. And yes, I'm 100% positive it's 150 days. Constantly I'm getting comments on social media that's like, no, it's 180. You have to wait 180 days. No, you apply at 150 days. They can approve it at 180 days, and they do usually approve it shortly thereafter. So you should apply at 150 days. It's going to take them, at least a few weeks to process it, probably no matter what. So waiting until 180 days will just slow things down. You're more likely to get it as fast as possible by doing it at 150 days. Okay. All right. Thank you for asking the question. Let's see. What else do we have here? What else do we have? Thank you. Good to see you as well. All right. So on Facebook, Bassam says, hi, I applied for asylum in February 2017. Until now, no interview. Any idea if there's anything I can do about getting my interview scheduled? Well, yes, there is. If there's any kind of emergency circumstance, like if you've got a health issue or one of your family members does, you can ask to have your case expedited on what's called an urgent humanitarian basis. But that doesn't usually work, even when someone's got like a serious problem or situation going on where they should get expedited, they usually don't. So you can try that if there's some kind of emergency going on. If not, what else can you do? Well, you can do what's called an ombudsman's request, where you make a request to this office at the Department of Homeland Security to look into it. But in this situation where you've been waiting just for years for your interview, I do not think it will be helpful. What can you do? You can sue the government. All right. That's what you can do. And there's a pretty high chance for success. Since you've been waiting in your case, 5 or 6 years, pretty strong chance for success. However, I recommend that before you sue in what we usually refer to as a mandamus lawsuit, I recommend that you get everything in order. You get your documentation, your paperwork together, and submit to the asylum office this packet that I talked about earlier called the supplemental filing. You want to have that in place before you sue or threaten to sue. Why? Because sometimes when you sue or threaten to sue, sometimes you get your interview right away. Recently, we threatened to sue the Miami asylum office, and our client got his interview had his interview a week and a half later. Okay. So you want to have everything in order. And so what I recommend is when people come to us like you and say, hey, I want help getting my interview, I'll say, yes, we'll be happy to sue the government for you. But first, I recommend that you hire us for something different, which is to try to win your asylum case, to have us help you, give you the best chance possible to win your case. And it consists of those 3 things that I talked about earlier, which is, the supplemental filing, the preparation, and the representation. And I tell people you shouldn't hire us yet for the actual lawsuit because it might not be necessary. First of all, we're going to ask for the interview when we submit the supplemental filing. We're in the cover letter. We're going to say, please give him his interview, and we're going to wait a month. And if that doesn't work, then we're going to threaten to sue. And there's a decent chance, like for you, Bassam, since you've been waiting 5 or 6 years, at that time frame, there's a decent chance that it will work, that threatening to sue will work. Sometimes it does. So I wouldn't want you to pay to sue the government and go through all that if you can get your interview by doing something short of suing, which is asking and then threatening to sue. And so we would threaten to sue. And then a month later, if they didn't give you your interview, then we would talk about, okay, do you want to actually go through with suing? If you did, Bassam, if you actually went through with suing, I'd say there's a pretty high chance for success in your case. Every time that we've sued for a client that's been waiting as long as you, every single time we've won. And by won, I mean, we didn't even have to fight the case out. Rather, after we sue, the government says, oh, wait. We don't really want to fight this case to the end. Bassam, if you'll agree to drop that case, to take away the lawsuit, dismiss it, then we'll give you your interview right away. Well, sometimes it's right away. Sometimes it's several months down the line. But in any event, it works. So that's what you can do. You can ask, you can threaten to sue. And if that doesn't work, you can sue. Okay. And no, it will not hurt your case. I get that question all the time, and it's understandable. It's a reasonable question, right? If you're, are you going to be seen by the government as too aggressive and taking this bold confrontational step of suing the government? Is that going to hurt your asylum case? Is it going to make you look bad or make the government mad at you? And the answer is no. I don't think that it will at all. In fact, I don't worry about that for my clients at all. It's not a thing. It just doesn't happen. When I was an asylum officer with the government, we didn't know if someone had sued the government. That kind of information just didn't make it into the case file. So we wouldn't know that someone had sued. I'm pretty sure that it's still that way, mainly because, well, two things. First of all, in the interviews, when we go on to represent someone after they've sued, never once has the asylum officer said something about the fact that we sued or brought it up or indicated that they knew about it, and they don't act strange or anything like that. And then second, we've been winning these cases, these asylum cases, so I don't think they're holding it against us. If you want help, right now we're offering free strategy sessions, a consultation where you can call and talk with an asylum specialist to see if we might be able to help you. Okay, no matter whether you've already applied or you're just thinking about applying for asylum, either way, or if you're interested in trying to get your interview scheduled, call us. That number is at the bottom of the screen on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and on TikTok, it's on my profile. Give us a call, okay, and schedule a free asylum strategy session with an asylum professional so that we can see what's going on and tell you whether we think we might be able to help you. Okay. All right. Okay. Good question. Good question. Yeah. No, that's completely reasonable. Yeah, I get it. On YouTube, Erden says, or sorry if I mispronounced that, Erdene says, hey, Brian, is it okay to apply for a green card lottery for asylum seekers? Yes. It's a little bit tricky as to whether you're going to qualify to be able to get the green card, depending on some stuff related to your status. But like, you can at least apply. And I can tell you with confidence that it's not going to negatively affect your asylum case. Okay. Whether you will actually qualify for that green card if you win the lottery, in terms of your immigration history, is a little more complicated. But I can tell you that at least the good news is it's not going to negatively affect your asylum case. Okay. All right. On YouTube, Najio says, hey, when is it best to apply for a green card after asylum approval? Is it a year or 6 months? Good question. There's no like set answer to this. All right. In the past, you had to wait. You couldn't apply until you reached that 1 year mark. Like they would reject it if you applied. But then, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, the USCIS, maybe it's longer. Sometime within the last year, USCIS changed their policy and said, actually, you can apply at any time after you win asylum. You don't have to wait a year. You still, though, have to get to a year before they can actually approve it. You have to have a year of physical presence and continuous physical presence in the United States after having won asylum. So if you apply like before you reach that year, you might get a request for evidence later that says, hey, you need to show us that you've been living here for a year since you got asylum. There's something wrong with that. I do think probably it is a good idea to go ahead and apply earlier. And honestly, I'm thinking right now, I'm thinking that it's probably best to apply right away after you win asylum to go ahead and get your place in the queue. Because it takes a while for them to process to get through these kinds of requests. So the short answer is you can apply whenever you want. I would do it before I would do it before you reach the 1 year mark. 6 months. Yeah, great. Maybe even sooner if you want. Okay. All right. That is it for today. I just wanted to jump on to share this good news from USCIS. Some of it's good. At least it's clarifying news from USCIS for people who applied for asylum, had a case pending in immigration court and got it dismissed. And now they want to know what they can do if they want to keep pursuing asylum. We got more clarity on that. So that's what I discussed today, but I'm going to put in the links below this video. I'm going to put the link to a full YouTube video where I talk about that topic in a lot more detail. All right. Thank you for being with me. I'm Brian Manning. I'm a political asylum lawyer, and my law firm helps people all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. So call us if you want to talk about that, about whether we might be able to help you. And we'll be happy to talk with you in a free asylum strategy session. Until next time, I'm Brian, and I hope to see you all soon. Thanks for your comments. Keep them coming. Take care, and